All
Oh,
right, we are.
yeah, here we are. We are live. This is
Yes.
cool. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Passport Game Studio's very first Google Hangout. I am here with Bruno Faidutti, Rafael Zanchetin, and also with Sergio Halaban. And we're here to talk about Warehouse 51 this morning. Well, morning for me, some other time in Brazil where Sergio and Rafael are, and then a totally different time in France where Bruno is. So Rafael is the illustrator. Bruno and Bruno and Sergio are, of course, the designers. So we're gonna, kind of answer any questions that we've gotten from fans, and also just kind of talk about the game a little bit. So I'm gonna go around in the order that I see you guys. So the first person I see is Bruno. Hello, Bruno. Can you introduce yourself briefly?
So I'm Bruno Faidutti. I'm a game designer for something like 30 years now, with lots of games under my belt. And this is the second game I make together with Sergio and his friend Andre. We already made Formula E. And I'm really happy with Warehouse 51, the way it looks, and so it's our second work together. So there might be other later, but at the moment we're not working on any other game together.
Cool. And so the next person on my list here is Rafael, who unfortunately doesn't have a webcam, but he has a very cool icon. So
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rafael. I'm a fantasy illustrator. I don't have as much experience as Bruno or Sergio. Clearly, not by far. This is my first game, tabletop game, and it's been a great experience so far, and I hope to do more.
definitely, and your art for it is so good. I'm gonna show some pictures of it as we go through this thing, and it's just amazing. So for your first game, it is really impressive, I think. So yeah, you're welcome. And then finally, I have Sergio here. What's up, Sergio?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm Sergio Halaban. I am a Brazilian game designer. I've been working on game design since not as much as Bruno, but since almost 18 years. All the time together with my brother-in-law and good friend André Zatz. And we have published and developed and published a lot of games in Brazil. Only few of them were published from Brazil. First one was Heart and the Granzy in France, that is in the United States. Last year was published in the States under the name Sheriff of Nottingham. And fortunately, I have the great chance to work with Bruno in two games. The first game was Formula E, as he said, a game that pleased us very much to work with him. And again, in House 51, we have this second chance. I hope we'll have some more chances in the future. I will try my best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the things that you do in the future, but I'm also really looking forward to Warehouse 51, and I know actually a lot of people are really looking forward to Warehouse 51. In fact, as soon as we announced it, it's like the flood of comments started coming in. It's like, oh, tell us about it. When will it be available? So many questions. So it's cool. In case you're one of the people that didn't know, it's going to be released at Gen Con this year. So if you're going to be at Gen Con, you can get your hands on it at the Passport Game Studios booth. That'll be booth 1753. We'll have a ton of copies there available for sale, so you won't really miss out on it. Something else that's cool about the booth is that Bruno is actually going to be there every day, and he can do signings and meet you. You can probably ask him any questions that we don't cover in this chat. Probably. So it should be really cool.
I be there every day except Thursday at
Yes.
1 p.m.
Nice. Yeah, so and we will post those links on our website. It's just passportgamestudios.com/GenCon for the complete schedule. We'll update it as we get closer to the event. So I kind of want to dive into Warehouse 51. So a lot of people now have heard about it. It's been covered in a lot of places, but it's all kind of mysterious because there's not a lot of information out about it. Like we're tantalized because there's this really great art, and then we hear snippets about it, but there's not a lot of information, particularly in English right now, that's about Warehouse 51. So since you are the designers, I'd like to ask, to kind of give just a brief overview of both the story of the game and also the kind of gameplay that people can expect.
Okay, Sergio?
Yes.
Start.
You want me to start? Okay. I can. Thanks. Well, this game is a game that Andreas Zatz and me have worked on it for a long time. Before we collaborated in it with Bruno. It was in the beginning we had this auction game called National Museum, where each player played the role of a curator of a national museum, a big museum like the Louvre or the Metropolitan Museum. And it was an auction game where each player wanted to have the best collection of pieces of art for his museum. There was some interesting things in this game. Some pieces of art could be fakes, and it was a interesting punctuation system we have developed for this game. We presented this game to many publishers, and we have received not very good news from them. And we decided to present it to Bruno after we had our first collaboration for Formula E, and Bruno kind of liked it. At the beginning, he said, "I'm very busy now. I'm working on other games. If you can send me it again in a few weeks." And he was working at that time in another auction game. I think that was one of the reasons he didn't want to see Warehouse at that time. But I think the other game developed in a different game, and it stopped to be an auction game. So he got more interested in the idea of our collaboration. So he got a prototype, and then we started to work together. And Bruno had a lot of very, very nice ideas, and the game became what it is today. And I would like to Bruno to explain this, because I think he can do it better.
All right, Bruno. Now it's up to you to whether you agree or if you deny any of the events that Sergio has just laid out here.
Yeah. So the first step for me was when I received this game from Sergio and Andre, National Museum, and what I really liked in this game was the idea that there were fakes. There were some items that had no value, and players can manipulate this, have some knowledge of what is a fake and what isn't, and other players don't know about it. And I thought that this was a really great idea. So I started to develop on this. And, I have a reputation of being a game designer who adds lots of zany effects and some chaos in games. And there are lots of cards with various items on them. It was still standard antiquities at the time. And I decided to give them some special abilities. So that was the second step. It was with some tweaking with the system, but mostly added some effects, good and bad effects to the item, because you always want to add items to your collections, but sometimes they have bad effects. So in order to get the points, you also have to get the curse. And I think we made a really nice game, but it was still National Museum. It was still, antiques from Greece and Rome and Mesopotamia, and pictures we found on the web from old museums. And we had a problem with this game. We showed it to a few publishers, And the answers was always more or less the same, which was, well, okay, it's a very nice game, it's very interesting, but we have far too many auction games, and we have far too many games about antiques. There are antiques everywhere because it's such an easy setting, such an easy term when you have cards and collecting. Okay, we collect antiques. And one guy had a different answer, and it was Rob from Passport Games. When I showed the game to him, he said me, okay, it's a good game, I like it. There are not that many auction games, but really the theme is boring and not very original. But what about changing it into fantasy items? And I think that was a great idea. That was what made the game what it is now. That replacing all this, classical antiques, and disco balls and all that stuff, and replacing it with, the Hammer of Thor and Philosopher's Stone and that kind of stuff. First, because it's original, and second, because it makes sense. It makes sense that the Hammer of Thor or the Philosopher's Stone of, I don't know, any fantasy item has a magical effect, has some curse. Pandora's box, it must have a curse, and so on and so on. It makes sense. And so this, I think this gave consistency to the game's theme, between the theme and the mechanism. And the second great idea from Rob is that, okay, he said, we change the setting, it will be fantasy items, but now you deal with it, you find the items, and you make the game with them. Because, I've had lots of bad experiences with publishers who take a game, say, we change the theme, and just, okay, change the name of the cards, and okay, and it doesn't work, because it has to have something, some relation. The effects on the cards are not exactly the same as they were in National Museum. Right. And so Rob gave us the time and the freedom to start again all the effects from scratch with this new setting. And the result is, I think, was really, really fun. I think what's great with this game is that it's fun. It's an auction game, but it's a zany auction game. It's a nasty auction game. But you are always trying to play against your opponents. You have more cards with curses than cards with positive effects. So, and this is really fun. And the last step was with the graphics, and I didn't like the first proposal that we got from Rob. He sent us a few tried by various artists, and I think the great idea was when he decided to, okay, let the guy at Funforge in France deal with the artistic parts. They are better with this. And they found Rafael, and I think he made a really, really great work with these items. And
oh, definitely. His art is amazing. And what's funny, I think, is that Funforge in France found someone also in Brazil. It's like, come on, Sergio. So yeah, I wanted to actually share some of the art that Rafael worked on for the game, but I also wanted to just sort of briefly touch on a little bit of what you were just saying, Bruno, about sort of the theme and like the fun, the funness, the zaniness of the game. So it's a fairly short auction kind of game, and the premise, in case anyone watching this is not quite sure, is the United States is totally out of money. It happens. and
from the idea of magic items, and I found the idea that, okay, the United States is out of money, it's bankrupt, they have to sell everything, and there is some secret warehouse where all the stuff gathered, by Indiana Jones and all these guys during the Cold War and later on all these years of, power and glory, everything is crammed somewhere, and okay, we have to sell all that stuff to, billionaires from Brazil, from Russia, from China, from everywhere, who, because we just need the money. And I just thought it was fun, and it,
Oh, it's really fun. I mean, what's I really liked about it is way back in the day, I wanted to be an archaeologist. That was what I went to college for. And so this game, it feels so much to me like you were saying, like the Indiana Jones, warehouse full of full of hidden treasures. I'm like, it's like my chance to live vicariously through this game, where I'm like, oh, maybe I could have uncovered some of these cursed artifacts or whatever. So yeah, it's really cool. So basically, the United States is out of money, has to sell off all these assets that are in this warehouse, and the people buying it are these ridiculously wealthy collectors from all over the world who really want these things for their own. But the problem, like you were touching on earlier, is that, the United States just threw all this stuff in a warehouse. They weren't necessarily convinced, they didn't necessarily care about the authenticity of certain items. And because some of the items may not be authentic, they might have some sort of negative effects should someone acquire it for their own personal collection, right?
Yeah, and and what is nice is that it's something I like with auction games. With auction games, you don't care about balance. There is no problem with balance because the balance is made by the players. It's made by the auction. If it's a good card, it will be expensive. If it's a bad card, it won't be that expensive. It doesn't matter if some cards are overly powerful, have bad effects. It's no problem. So we can do what we want with the cards. And so we have lots of various effects. Cards that say that you cannot bid for more cards in the same categories, that limits the money you can send, that you can swap with cards from other players, and we could add everything. And if it is playable, we don't have to. There's no problem with cost because balance is made by the players, and it's something really nice with auction games.
Definitely. Oh, we have a question, which also, by the way, if anyone is watching this live, you can also submit your own questions and we will answer them. So I'm going to pick this one, which is that from Rob, actually. Hey, Rob, you're getting all kinds of shout-outs today. It says, I think another great element that was added to the game is the ability to pawn items. Would you also agree?
Yeah, this was the last. This was a last-minute addition, the ability to pawn items. And I think it's good because it's a way, because there were situations when playing the game when one player had very little money left, because you always pay to your left neighbor, and sometimes there were situations when you don't have money left. Now you can pawn an item to get some money, but you have to pay even more to get it back at the end of the game if you want it back. Of course, if the item is cursed, you keep the curse. And if it is blessed, you lose the blessing.
So yeah, I think that sounds awesome. Sergio, did you have anything to add about pawning of items?
Yes. I agree with everything Bruno said. One thing that I like in the game that helped us to put whatever we want is the fact that in each game the order of the cards will appear in the game in a different order. So an item that is very valuable in one game can be the last card from the second game, so it won't be that valuable. So the value of each item depends on how the game develops, and this is something that I really like in the game. And as Bruno said, Bruno didn't say, but other thing that I think it's very fun in the game is the space players have to bluff, as there are some items that are fakes, and you have the ability to pawn items. So you can even buy an item that you know it is fake because you want to pawn it later, even knowing that you are going to lose a blessing or keep a curse. But you have many ways to develop. You can develop many different strategies in the game, and it's from one side a very chaotic game, which is nice. The auction is a system that works very well in the game. The team is fantastic. It works greatly. All the effects, as Bruno said, we tailor it from the items. So we started from the items and we tailored an effect for each item, which Bruno did greatly. And finally, we have this fantastic art. So the game is, I really like the final result of this game.
Yeah, what I really like about it, especially when I hear you guys talking about it, is how there's a lot of elements I think to this game that really make sense in terms of sort of human behavior. Like when I think about the idea that you're playing as this like gazillionaire who's trying to buy all these items. I mean, absolutely you would try to pull one over on your fellow collectors because you're trying to get the best stuff and you're trying to make sure that they get the worst stuff. So I think that all of these mechanics just make so much sense considering the story of the game and the theme of the game. So I think it's just a really great job that you guys did. So
an example, something that said Sergio, one card which has a terrible curse if you draw it at the beginning of the game, and it's not that a problem if you get it at the end of the game, is what is now the Ring of the Nibelung, because it prevents you from buying other cards in the same category. At the beginning of the game, it's not a problem. At the end of it's a terrible problem. At the end of the game, it's not a problem. And it's another fun story in the game. In our prototype, it was the One Ring and the Necronomicon. And we were afraid that there might be problems, intellectual property, all that stuff. So now it's not the One Ring, it's the Ring of the Nibelungen, but it works as well, in fact. It's even more fun because, and it still has the same effect because it's logical that it has that kind of curse.
yeah, that's awesome. And now that you're actually, sorry, Rafael, we've left you on to your own devices, but we're gonna get to you right now actually, because when you're talking about all these different items, what are some examples of these amazing artifacts that we can find? And as you're talking about them, I'm going to pull up some of Rafael's art actually.
Okay, my favorite in Rafael's art is the flying carpet. Do we have the picture of the flying carpet?
I believe so. Okay, keep talking about it, and I'm going to look for it while you're talking about the flying carpet.
I like very much the boots, the seven boots.
Yeah, they are nice indeed.
Yes. Actually, the thing that I have here is I have a lot of Rafael's rough sketches, which I think are actually, the end art is amazingly beautiful, but being able to see sort of his process is also really cool. So I'm going to share that right now. So there are
Boots.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah,
There were
The boots.
these are the boots, really awesome. Just super cool. But we also have so many things. I mean, Rafael, this is I know I told you before we went live, but this is just so amazing. I love this necklace. I would wear it, although if it's cursed, I might not. So
Using gammons.
yeah, it's just so great. So Rafael, tell us a little bit about your process, because I know that you're new to sort of doing board games and things like that, but you wouldn't know it from your art because it's just incredible. So what did the process really look like for you? How did you get involved in this project?
So my background mainly is fantasy illustration. I love fantasy illustration, very colorful, stylized stuff. And when they approached me, they said, "Oh, we have this game we are thinking about, and we have some historical, in quotes, items." And I said, "Oh, okay, I love history. Honestly, I love history." And then they said, "But you can do it in your own style." And so I'm there. So I just started searching everything everywhere in the internet for the items. I felt like an Indiana Jones, in fact. Digital Indiana Jones, if you can say so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can definitely feel the sort of the adventuring flair, I think. So you were telling me this whole process, just getting all of this done, it took quite a long time, just working straight through. How long did it take you to work on all of this?
Yeah, about 45 days, and in all the cards. I think it took a bit more time with the cover. you had to have a bit more flair, so it took a little bit of time.
Definitely. Here's one of the roughs of the cover. It looks so cool.
Yeah. On the items, I just had a pleasure because I had the freedom to make everything colorful and stylish, just everything I want, really.
It's I mean, obviously anyone that's seen a little bit agrees with you. And in fact, someone from Passport actually had a quick question about it, which is that, how did you come up with the concepts? Did you have to research the items in the game? And I know there was definitely research, but how do you research things that don't actually really exist? So
yeah, some of them were really difficult because I've never actually heard of them. Like, I think the mortar, I think it's like a fable from Scandinavia or something. It was really hard to find. I think I had only like 2 pages, but I had to scour the internet to find some information. And then even when I hadn't, most of the time I didn't have any image. I just had text, so I had to just come up with something. And I hope I did.
Yeah, did you have to go on any of your own like Indiana Jones style adventures to go try to track this stuff down? Like, did you, go wander off into the backwoods of Brazil to like to find
No, not that far, not this far. It would be cool, but not that far.
You're like in a hidden temple. There's like the little darts, and you're just like rolling around with your sketch.
I had my pen in a sandbag, and I had to switch then.
It's so cool. So after this, I'm going to also share some links to some of the finished art, but and you can also view it from the Warehouse 51 page directly on Facebook, which has a ton of art, also from our partner Funforge, who has really done such a great job of getting all of this together with us. It's just amazing. So I would recommend checking out the Funforge Facebook page, the Warehouse 51 Facebook page, and of course the Passport Game Studios Facebook page, because we share all the art whenever we get it, and it's really incredible. So, we're running a little bit out of time, but I kind of wanted to ask you guys, if there's a lot of characters in this game, if you were like a super rich investor, like what kind of super rich investor would you be? Would you try to like, maybe pull one over on your fellow collectors, or would you, be nice?
If I were super rich, there is one of the items in the game that I would buy, because when I read the description, it was fantastic. It's because we have correction for the various cultures. We have Western fantasy, Western mythology, Middle East and Far East. We wanted to make a fifth correction with the America, North and South, but game was too long. So if there will be an expansion someday, there will be, crystal skulls and that kind of stuff in it. It will be later. There is one item which I find the idea fantastic. It's Vishnu's flying weapon, because it's a shuriken which is 32 kilometers, something like 35 miles in diameter. So it's, wow, it's something fabulous, I think.
So that'd be like the first on. You have like a shopping list, like when you're just super rich. You're just like, okay, like milk, eggs, flying weapon, that kind of stuff.
And of course, I need the unicorn's horn, because I made my PhD about unicorns in Renaissance.
All right. Now, would either of the two of you try to, get any of that stuff away from him, or do you have your eye on like, other artifacts? You're gonna let him just get away with those?
I would like to have two items also. I'd like to have the golem. It would be useful. And I would like to have the horn of plenty.
Can be useful indeed.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys could be friends. You wouldn't, be constantly trying to like stab each other in the back. So, maybe you guys could work together to like share your collections or something. But Rafael, now I know that you don't know too much about the game yet, but after you spent all the time, well, I'm sure you know a lot about it now. But after you spent all this time illustrating everything, out of all those things, what was your favorite, and would you like to own it, even if you think it might be cursed?
That's rough. I just can choose. It's like they're all my children. I can choose. But
So you're gonna take all of them.
yes, all of them. But if I had to buy one, I wouldn't be as nice as Sergio and Bruno. I would play for the game and just win, and I would go for the peaches of immortality. I would have the money and the immortality. Just win.
I think that's a smart thing. It's kind of like, you know, when you get the genie and like you're not supposed to wish for more wishes, but I think that if you're immortal and you have a ton of money, I mean, it's practically the same thing.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, you guys better look out for him. He sounds like the kind of collector that just like he's the kind of guy that just like buys things because he can buy them. So he might be after your Horn of Plenty. I'm just saying. You might have to watch out for Rafael. So, is there anything that you want the fans to know, anyone watching this video, about Warehouse 51 before we're done with the hangout today?
Just one thing, when we choose the setting, and even when I had the idea for the game's name, we had never heard about this series about 13. For the first time 3 months ago, we had never heard about it when we designed the game.
And so you're like, wait a minute, man, Hollywood sure works fast. They already made a show about this game? Wow.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
True, that's true. For me, it happened the same. We have followed all this natural path, as Bruno said. One thing led to a second, that led to a third, and he came with this name. We all found it great and very, very fit the game very well. And after the first releases of the name, I started to hear questions about Warehouse 13 that I had never heard before. Yes.
See, now that you know about it, like maybe now you're going to become a fan of the show, and the people on the show would become a fan of the game, and it'll be like this big circle.
The same story, it's the same kind of items.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Rafael, is there anything you want anyone to know about your art before we go? Like anything you want people to keep an eye out for, like any Easter eggs or anything?
Not really. I didn't have many time to make Easter eggs. I wish I could have, but I just wish everyone enjoyed the game, enjoyed the art as much as I have doing that.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been really fun and also really informative, and I cannot wait for this game to release. So once again, for people watching it, it will release at Gen Con 2015. If you're going to be at the show, you can just pick it right up at the Passport Game Studios booth. That's booth 1753, and maybe even meet Bruno while you're at it. So thank you guys so much for doing this today. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.